Yeah. I'd like to welcome you to an Oak Harbor City Council meeting, a regular meeting of the Oak Harbor City Council. It is October 18th. I show it is 6 o'clock, and I'd like to call the meeting to order. We'll start with an invocation, which you can join us in if you'd like, by Pastor Andy Mahoney from the Grace Community Church, and we'll follow that with a Pledge of Allegiance.
Lord, we just thank you so much for this day and this evening, this meeting, this beautiful island that you've given us to live on, this wonderful town, this community that we are blessed to be a part of, Father. I thank you for this council that serves this city well, Lord. And Father, during this season that is politically charged and very divisive for many of us, Lord, I pray that there would be a sense of unity here during these meetings and in our town, Lord, that the citizens of Oak Harbor would rise above the political rhetoric and pursue being a healthy community that cares well for each other and cares well for those outside the community as well. And Father, we just lift up the mayor and the council and give them wisdom as they make decisions for the welfare of this city. I pray that they would serve this city and serve you well. And I thank you for them and pray your blessing over this time, over this meeting, over this town. In your name, amen.
Amen. Thank you, Pastor Mahoney. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, I think Councilor Munns was with us this afternoon at a workshop, and she got pretty worn out. So I think we'll be needing to excuse her this evening. Yes. Okay, motion to excuse Councilor Munns, made by Mr. Campbell.
Second.
Second, made by Councilor Servadius. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Show none opposed. Okay, we have an agenda for this evening. Looks like a pretty short agenda, and I'm looking for an approval of the agenda or any revisions. Councilor Servadius.
Thank you. I move to approve the agenda as presented.
Second.
Motion to approve and a second. Motion by Councilor Servadius, second by Councilor Wassinger. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, showing no proclamations or special honors, we're into the citizen comment period. Citizens may comment on subjects of interest not listed on the agenda or items listed on the consent agenda. To ensure comments are recorded properly, state your name clearly into the microphone. Please limit comments to 3 minutes to ensure all citizens have sufficient time. So, are there any citizen comments? Looks like we have one coming. Good.
Okay. My name is Reese Wassinger. I live in Oak Harbor. I broke my arm right above my left elbow. At Holland Park, I was hanging on the tree and I tried to get my foot back in the tree and I fell headfirst on my back with my arm out. But don't worry, I know it was not the tree's fault. The real reason I'm here is to thank Mayor Bob and his wife Rhonda and all the staff at City Hall for the card I received. And may you please sign my cast after the meeting.
That can be arranged.
Thank you.
All right.
Thanks, Reese.
Thank you very much. Okay. Who'd like to follow that? Anybody else? Well done. Okay, that ends our citizen comment period. And we're on to item number 4, our consent agenda. Looks like we've got items A through, what is it, A through D, A, B, C, and D. Yes, Councilor Holmberg.
Thank you, Mayor. I Move that we approve the consent agenda as presented.
Okay, motion to approve
Second.
by Councilor Allenberg, second by Councilor Servadius. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. On to mayor's comments, followed by council members' comments, and then finally by city administrator. So in my comments, I don't have much other than to say that I did attend the Board of Health meeting, which is the monthly meeting, and I'm not trying to alarm anybody, but I did learn that there are some chicken pox on South Whidbey, and that there is some several cases of some pretty bad flu in the Skagit area, and the reports of that were that it's definitely affecting very healthy people, and it's a pretty tough flu. It's in the 102, 103 temperature range. So you can get vaccinated, and I would recommend that you think about doing that. So having said that, that pretty much ends my mayor's comments. So I'm going to go to council, open it up. Mayor Pro Tem, anything? No. Okay. Anybody on this side? Nope. Okay. Boy, we're moving fast tonight. We might have a new record tonight here. No pressure, Dr. Merriman.
And then comes Doug. Actually, I do have a couple things here. First is just you should have the staffing dashboard on your counters there that show some of the work that HR is doing. Thank you, Emma, for providing that for us. And then for my comments, I don't dare say for the next 90 minutes I have a slide presentation to give you, because I don't want to be that guy that keeps our meeting from getting done efficiently here. But I do have one item to bring forward. This came out of a request from our last budget workshop. And there was a question when we were talking about the fire department and about comparing our numbers to other cities, why things look so skewed sometimes. Why are we so different than other cities? So I did a little bit of research on that, and I just wanted to take a quick few minutes to go over that with you and show you a little bit of what we found in our analysis and explain maybe a couple steps we should do when we want to compare ourselves to other cities. So my first slide is just, this was the workshop question. Why are there such large differences between cities when we compare spending? So the best way to talk about this sometime is to tell a really quick story. And in this story, we have two girls, Tina and Lisa, who love puppies. And so they love puppies so much, they like to give money to Save the Puppies Foundation. And when we look at this example, you can see that Tina gives $30, Lisa gives $90. And you think, wow, Lisa must really love puppies 3 times more than Tina does, because she is spending, her per capita spending is $90 compared to Tina's. But the thing you get lost in a little bit is that you have to look a little bit deeper. And in this case, look at the income they both made. Tina does a little bit of babysitting. Over the summer, she makes $100. Now, tell me where you can find a babysitter that only charges you $100 for the summer. But at the same time, Lisa maybe works down at Papa Murphy's, and she makes $900 that year. So when you really look at it in terms of spending, it's the other way around. Tina actually makes or is giving 3 times more of her income than Lisa is. So whenever we talk about per capita money, we have to always remember to look at it in terms of income and what we actually receive first. Then we look at per capita spending. And thanks for listening to my example here, but I think it's one that kind of shows things that anybody can really understand that might be watching our video. So what I did is I took 5 cities. These are our neighbors here. I have Mount Vernon, Anacortes. Mayor Bob actually asked, why don't we put Coupeville in there? And I added Burlington as well. And this shows on a per capita basis what we get in revenue. And as you go down the columns, you see Oak Harbor on the left and the other cities to the right. Well, if you have a minute to look, you'll notice right away the first one that jumps out is sales tax. And you can see Oak Harbor, we're at $157 per person. We'll look all the way to right to Burlington, and you see how much they get per capita. Now, we all know that's where the malls are and people shop there. They also only have 8,500 people in their population. So not only do they have a lot of revenue, they have a smaller population. So when you look at per capita, things can look drastically different. The next thing to do is, and this is on the spreadsheet I gave you, I color-coded the little quarters there so we can follow those. So this is in that green upper left corner that we're talking about. That's the per capita revenue. And the bottom line, you can see when you look at these different cities, how we rate or rank to our other cities next to us in terms of per capita income. You can see we're at $737, and as you go across, even to Burlington, they are almost 3 times the amount of per capita income that we have. And that's pretty amazing. As we drop down to the lower left-hand side, this is per capita spending. So of that per capita income, where are we spending that? And you can see, here's 2 examples, police and fire. I show Oak Harbor is spending $196 and $112 respectively. And as you go across the other cities, you can see how the numbers are different. In fact, quite a bit. If you go to Burlington, you can see they are spending per capita twice what we are. Coopville is a bit of an anomaly. They're a smaller town, so they don't have all the services that the other cities have. That's why their numbers are so low. So keep that in mind. Per capita, we're half of what Burlington is. But as we knew from our example, when you look at per capita, it's not always the best story to get from those numbers. So what we need to look at then is, say, our spending in a different way. We need to look at it in terms of percent of budget. And when you do this, what it does, it norms the comparison. Because we are so different than other cities in our per capita revenue, it doesn't make real sense to look at per capita spending and have it be comparable. So it's easier to say, okay, let's look at the money that each of us does get, where are we focusing that money? And this slide, what it shows is that, say for example, you can see sales tax, we're 21%. If you go over to Burlington, they're 49%. Where they were 7 times our number on per capita when we looked in that first set of numbers, you can see here we're not quite half. It's still a big difference, but not quite as much. We're kind of leveling out the playing field a little bit when we talk about revenues. Where it really comes into play is here, and this is the lower right corner, and I call this the policy corner, and I'll talk about that in just a second. But what this shows is when we look at the dollars each city has, where are they focusing that money? And you can see there's different percents, like, let's look at police. So I have Oak Harbor, we spend 28.49% of our budget on police. If you go across, you can see we're higher than everybody else. Burlington is 20.91. And if you remember, they were double us in per capita spending. So the per capita spending is not always the best measure. You really have to look at the money we have, where are we focusing those dollars? Same thing with fire. You saw that Burlington was double our amount per capita. But as you go across, you can see that now we are actually higher than Burlington. So it's not always a matter of what is the per capita income. It's for every city, for the dollars we're given, where are we focusing these dollars? That's why I like to call this the policy corner of this spreadsheet a little bit, because this shows us where council is focusing that. And you can tell compared to other cities, we focus a lot more on public safety. And that comes out to our policy. One item that popped out at me as I was laying these numbers out, this is one that's a good one as well, at the very bottom, other financing uses. And there are only 2 things that go into financing uses. It's debt payment and maybe transfers to another fund like our senior center, like we talked about today. A lot of other cities, as you can see, they have a lot more in debt. We have no debt in the general fund other than our little share of the electrical program that we just did. There's a little bit of a debt. But for most cities, they have a lot more debt than we do. For example, Burlington, they get a lot of money, but they also spent a lot of it on a brand new city hall here a couple of years ago and financed that. So this is one we can kind of look at that and say, this is a good thing. From a policy perspective, we have kept our debt to a minimum to where we actually need it or there's a benefit to it. So it's funny how those things pop out of these types of numbers like that. This is one just to lay it side by side a little bit, and I use police as an example. When you talk about spending, the yellow box on top, you can see police, Oak Harbor, we do 196 per capita, Burlington's 404. Just the next box down, you can see what that represent. That 196 represents 28% of our budget, where that 404 that Burlington spends, over double ours, is only 21% of their budget. So in this particular case, per capita, it looks like Oak Harbor spends the least. But when you look at a percent of spending, you can see Oak Harbor is actually spending the highest percentage in that area. So sometimes it's just interesting how these numbers play out. And it's probably those when we talk about budgeting, we look at numbers in a certain way, but there are times when per capita is appropriate. So I have two suggestions when we're talking about budget and spending. We should look, and we're comparing to other cities, we should look at what is the percent we're paying of total budget compared to what other cities are spending, just because the income, just like the two girls and the puppy, throws the analysis off. We want to make sure we're looking at it this way. There are times, though, when we saw this one, this was the per capita revenue, and that first red line, the sales tax. Why is it that Burlington has $1,000 per capita to our 157? So when we talk about economic development and wondering what's the difference between communities, on the revenue side, that might be the time to talk about per capita. Because then we need to look at that and say, okay, of that difference between us and Burlington, we know the malls are there. That also tells us a lot of our citizens are driving east and shopping over there. And if we look at economic development, what things can we do to corner some of that traffic? So I thought this was just interesting to lay this out. I hoped to answer that question, why are there such large differences between cities? And really what it is we need to use that appropriate method to compare. So if we're talking about spending, let's talk percent of their spending of that budget. If we talk about economic development or what we could do to enhance revenues, maybe that's a better time to talk about per capita numbers and do that. So hopefully that answers the question. If there's any questions on that, I can answer those.
Councillor Meisen.
Thank you, Mayor. The very bottom right line, total per capita tax. Can you define that for me?
Sure. On the spreadsheet you have on the right-hand side, there are two lines down there that are not in a shaded area. They're just, you'll just see the black text in there. I think we've talked about the total per capita public safety, but the total per capita tax, what that represents is what percent of their budget is funded through taxes. Interesting, if you go to the left a little bit, under the orange box, you can see the total per capita spending on public safety. I put that in there as a footnote. And you go across, you can see where Oak Harbor ranks. Then you look at the total per capita tax right under that. So it's just interesting to see how those numbers interplay with each other like that.
Thank you.
Yes, Councillor Omber.
Thank you, Mayor. When we're dealing with percentages and per capita numbers, we need to also factor in on the presentation, I think, population. That's how we get to that number. Can you tell me what the population of Burlington is? Do you happen to know that, or approximately?
Burlington is about 8,500.
So they have a very small population base with a high income stream from the shopping centers in there. Maybe that explains part of the
That's part of it, yeah.
the slight, I'm not going to call it a distortion, but an imbalance between looking at per capita
Right.
versus our 22.5. And Anacortes, you know what that, right off the top of your head, the Anacortes population base
I'll
is?
just take a guess. They're around the, I'm thinking 15 to 16,000.
Yeah, I thought I saw 16 something.
Yeah, I'm thinking in there. Mount Vernon's probably in the low 30s.
Okay,
I'd guess them around 34,000.
all right. So Mount Vernon, 34, yeah. And then they have the refineries in their city limits also.
Anacortes actually has
Excuse me,
those.
Anacortes.
Yeah.
You're right.
Mhm.
Yep. Thank you very much. That's all I have.
Okay. Anyone else? I had one question, and that is there a way to take NAS Whidbey out of the numbers. Because it seems to me that that would skew these numbers quite a bit.
It would. In fact, there's times we've gone through that. What we'd have to do is get the population on the base and back that out. But then there are certain expenditures, say like say fire and police, where we back that population out. We also have to look at, they don't provide direct services out there. So there's a little bit of an exercise to go through to do that. But it would be interesting to see how that adjusts the
I think that
numbers.
would work for a better comparison, actually. Okay, anyone else? Okay, well, thank you very much, Dr. Chairman. And just before we get to our wastewater treatment, I wanted to make sure and point out the fact that we do have our new planning commissioner, who was appointed just a few minutes ago by the consent agenda, in the audience here. Eric Mann is actually an Oak Harbor High School graduate. He currently is with the Windermere Real Estate here in Oak Harbor, and he is an active member of the community, a member of the Oak Harbor Chamber of Commerce. He's a member of the Oak Harbor Youth Sailing, very active in that organization, founder and coach of the Wildcat Sailing team, and he is a Kiwanian member and past president. Eric, thank you for joining our Planning Commission. Okay.
Okay.
Turn it back to you,
No,
sorry.
last item under my section tonight, we have Brett, who's going to give us an update on the wastewater treatment plant.
Good evening. Joe's gone today, so I'm filling in. Go ahead with our project, and I make sure I can work this thing. He's so good at it. But here's our clean water facility update. Recent activities, our design processes are coming to conclusion. Both the process and non-process drawings have been completed. We're preparing a contract now. The only task we have left in the design is actually the site mitigation and site landscaping and final of that. And that's going to be taking place in the next 9 months. And so we are preparing a contract amendment for that, and that'll probably bring the design pretty much to completion. A lot of that design was based on our Windjammer integration plan. And in terms of construction, we have been placing concrete at a nice pace. Both GMPs 7 and 8, which are self-performed concrete, are currently working on them. The self-performed concrete, it does remain ahead of schedule and below our labor estimates, so that's good news. We are keeping ahead, and that's, as we move into the next phases, that being ahead of schedule is really a benefit to us. We are negotiating GMP number 10, which is another self-performed concrete work. That's the work that we put out for bid and didn't have a response for, so we plan on presenting a GMP, another self-performed GMP on that one, probably November 15th. We have started the bidding process for now GMP number 11, which is non-process structures. But basically everything you see above ground will be in that GMP. So we're bidding a whole bunch of packages for that. So that'll be out on the street probably next week. You can tell a lot of local contractors this is a good opportunity for packages because we have all kinds of packages that are non-specialized, just more general commercial construction type packages. So masonry, reinforced steel, and that sort of thing. So I encourage people to bid on it. We have started work on GMP number 9. If you remember last session, we did approve that one, and so we have started work on it. We did do the pre-construction meeting last week and did a major scheduling session to get all the people on board with that. And the schedule results are looking pretty good, so hopefully we'll see some good news coming out of that. We're still working on City Beach Street. We're building that outfall pipe. We had originally hoped to finish the work up by October 29th, but we've run into some unexpected delays, so that's probably going to extend to November 11th, but we should have the street back in place by then. Funding, we're several things going on with that. We have, of course, the 2000 17 SRF loan was approved. We're in the process of actually obtaining the amendment for that and hopefully have that in front of council in the near future for approval. We are preparing a funding application for the 2018 package for final, for final financing. And so hopefully we'll have some news with that. So in terms of council, this is what we see coming up. It's going to, the November 15th is going to be pretty busy. As I said, we plan on presenting a GMP number 10, self-performed concrete work on that meeting, and also a Corolla amendment for the site plan phase, site plan design mitigation. Hopefully on either the 15th or the 6th, we'll have that contract amendment, or that loan amendment in front of council so we can tap into that $44 million. We plan on presenting at the November 16th council workshop. It'll be a review of GMP number 11. We'll be still in the bidding process for that, but we'll talk a little bit about what it contains. And hopefully we'll be able to present GMP number 11 on December 20th. Right now, we're kind of running the holidays, so we may push off a week on that one because of trying to get people bid in the holidays can be difficult. This is the schedule that we've been presenting. This schedule is getting out of date. It doesn't show GMP number, the new GMP we added to this. So next council session, we'll present a new one to you. We had the city council meeting on the 4th. We have the next one coming up on the 20th. And we're pretty much on schedule. We're happy with where we are, and we're positioned hopefully to pull the schedule to the left. And as we always end, we do have public involvement. You can reach us at oakharborcleanwater.org or give us a call. You can call the 914-7000 number, or else you can call our direct office numbers. That's fine. We do get emails at treatmentplant at oakharbor.org. I didn't change the date, but our next meeting is actually next Monday, which is the 21st, I think. Haven't had a lot of people come in, but people are welcome to stop in if they call, make an appointment. We do have a lot of drop-ins, stop and ask questions for us, and we get caught by a lot of people out by the fence. So, any questions?
Any questions? Council? Pretty complete report.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Brad. So does anyone else have anything for the good of the order?
I'll make a motion that we adjourn this meeting.
We're adjourned. 6:27.
Is that it?